Hello, everyone. Welcome back to digital imaging. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Okay. So, it's an announcement before class, and I'm just going to go through that really quickly. Um, colorized colorization layout project is due today by 3:30. In the moment image 5 is due today by 4. And then we're going to review and start the typography review assignment. So it'll be due 3:30 Thursday of this week, April 2nd. So what we're going to do is just going to go through these opening announcements, see if there are any questions, and then let people finish things up. And then we're going to come back at 3:30, and then I'm going to go through the typography assignment. And I want everyone to keep working on the fruit plate project. It's going to be due 2:30 on Thursday, the 9th. So we're going to do another review on near the end of class on of Tuesday next week, and try to make sure everyone is pretty close to being done by that point. So please keep working on these over the weekend. Um, Make sure you have a background and really work to make sure that it looks like your fruit plate and the objects fit within the context of the background. And make sure you have at least one piece of fruit from each different fruit type. um, and then just go over your shadows, your selections, your reflections. Just do the best that you can. All right, so are there any questions for any of that, or for the colorization project, or anything else at this time? So if you do have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to be online um, for the next hour till we come back, and then we'll start the next project. Sound good? Okay, great. So let me back up a bit. So I saw that some people were able to get their assignment in, which is great. Get it in as soon as you can if you weren't able to in time. We're going to switch over to the typography review. Okay. Can everyone see Talon and Photoshop and stuff on my screen? All right. So here in Talon, I've posted, excuse me, the assignment, and I really want people to think about images beyond just photographs and illustrations. But when you get into digital imaging, you're thinking about the whole image, and we sort of address that through the poster challenges. But here we're going to focus in a little bit more on typography itself. So in the graphic design school book, part 1, chapter 3, there was a section on typography, and we're basically going to take an inspiration from that book and explore that a little bit more today. The website that this is referencing for part of it, from when you do the annotations, is this one here. Okay, the link is in the assignment as well as on the template that you should all have access to. And so this website is one of many hundreds that talks about typography. I feel like this one was pretty good at going over what we needed for today. So there's examples of things in here. This was one of the visual cues for today's assignment. And then they talk over the fonts, typefaces, and then the pieces of the type, right? So these are things that we'll want you to have a good understanding of. So go ahead and read through this page if you're not familiar with it. You're going to be looking for these pieces of your typography in the assignment. I'm going to just switch over to that. So here's a template using my name. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to do a similar construction to this. So you don't have to build this out. You just need to substitute it in the text that's there, and then you're going to do the annotations. So you're going to have your name 4 times up here in a larger type size. You're going to have them on top of each other, and they're going to have a blend mode. So from Photoshop, that should be fairly familiar with you. So I use multiply on all of these, and I put them in this order. So cyan, magenta, yellow, and the key color, or black, in the back. And what I did differently for this one is I toned the black down so that it wouldn't be so dominant up here. So I wouldn't change the colors, I would just change your name in here. These are the 4 categories: display, serif, script, sans serif. You'll need to find your own versions of all of these, especially the display name. Display name is usually a fancy font that you usually only use for large headers or titles, but it's not something that is easy to read or work with in body copy. So that's that. Similar to script. Script you usually don't have in body copy. Script includes calligraphy, brush, some sort of handwritten based fonts is what you're looking for there. So what I want you to do is I do want you to download this attachment from Talon, and I want you to sub your name in there. And you probably will have to do some kerning, especially on display fonts. So on this one, for example, you're going to have to use the tools in Photoshop to manually change the spacing between these images, these letters. So what you just do is you eyeball it, you zoom in and out until you think it looks right. Is the spacing too much, too little? Are you reading it in letter pairs? Like if I did this, it'd be DAV, DAV, and ID. You don't want that. You want the whole word to be read together. So this is just sort of an exercise that you can practice with as well. But just think about it. You're looking at the volume of space between each letter. And depending on each font, it'll be slightly different. So then after you've done that, you're going to need to look for at least 4 different typographical features and call those out through annotating it in Photoshop. So you're going to need to identify whether it's the X height, the cap height, if you have ascenders or descenders. I don't have any descenders in my first name. Counters, all sorts of filios, all sorts of things. And give me at least 4 of those on each one of these. Okay, does that make sense? Is anything about this confusing or need clarification? And you can speak through the microphone if you want. Okay, so no questions. All right, so you're basically going to have your own version of this, 11 by 17. We're obviously not going to print this out, but I do want you to make sure that you're working in CMYK. The image mode, when I created this, I changed to CMYK from the get-go. Okay, Mitchell, what is your question? I can't hear you. Interesting. Well, Mitchell, could you type your question in the chat since I cannot hear you for some reason? So that's a great question. So the instructions are to do at least 4 things for each one of these. And so depending on the font choices that you select, you may not have the option to kind of do the same thing. Everything's going to have, an X height. There should be a cap height. Those are givens. But I do want you to go through each one of these and apply at least 4 different things. So for example, if you wanted to, you could do X height 4 times. Depending on the fonts, there may be some slight or some very big changes in the X heights. Does that make sense, Mitchell? Okay. Yeah, sorry I can't hear you today. But basically, go ahead and annotate these in Photoshop, save it, with the correct file name format, and then upload your PSD layered file, so don't flatten it, to Talon. And that's basically what I'm going to need from this. So you're just taking, a focused look at typography through your name and your name's features through 4 different categories of fonts. Still make sense to everyone? Yeah, the due date is before class Thursday. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from any of the other projects that we're working on? Anything on the fruit plate? So it sounds like everyone's doing okay. Just get your stuff in as soon as you can. Email me any questions. I look forward to seeing these. And I should hopefully have some comments on the colorization project for Thursday. Thursday, we're going to, let me jump over there. Thursday, we're going to attempt to start the next project. Let me get that up. So this is an ad revamp project, and this is simulating an agency model where someone's basically comes to us and says, we would like you to refresh this. So you're going to be using the same text, you're going to be using the same size of the page, but you're going to be updating it with new imagery and basically your own creativity. So that's going to be just sort of a fun little visual project to do over the weekend. And then next week, week 12, is when we get into the montage project, and the collage. The montage is very time consuming, so we'll see what we can do to simplify that a little bit more. The collage one is basically we're going to be taking all of the in the moment images up to this point, putting it into a shared pool, and then you're going to be placing them into a silhouette masked version of your portrait of yourself. So that should be fun. All right, that's pretty much all I have, and thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing the projects and meeting with you on Thursday. Thank you all very much. Stay healthy, and talk to you soon.